Hey everybody, and welcome back to Dead Cells. Today we're on the Alpha branch doing that Boyzax Alchemic Carbine run. Suggested by Hudarko in the comments. Hudarko? I'm unsure of the pronunciation, but either way, thank you very much for your suggestion. I did do a run of this back on 1.8, of course, but I figured since poison was changed, I could justify doing it again on the Alpha branch, have it be new content while still also being pretty much the same builds and getting that run out. It's so the run itself, the idea of it is you bind Boyzax and Alchemic Carbine to the same key, since Boyzax fires out extremely quickly and lets you fire it out like just before you fire out the Alchemic Carbine at like roughly the same speed. And we did get like right off the bat, we got a Boyzax with poison synergy, which is, you know, ideal. That's what you're looking for, because it means as soon as you hit the button again, because we found the same key, of course, for maximum speed, the Boyzax pulls out and deals extra damage, almost 100%, 80% extra, for pretty solid DPS. Now, the Alchemic Carbine didn't get changed itself, of course, but poison synergy and poison, because, you know, poison synergy used to do 100%, now it does 80%, understandable change. Now poison, like the DOT, when it kills an enemy, that DOT spreads to other enemies nearby at a reduced damage rate, which is understandable, because if it was like at the same strength as it was applied, considering how good poison is at like doing damage over time, it might just end up clearing out like an entire group of enemies without even having to do anything other than like chuck the poison out there, which is pretty nuts. One thing I do really like about this build is that you don't get stuck in place very often, so I can just kind of run around with reckless abandon, as is how I like to play, and get through things pretty darn quickly. I can also get through things pretty quickly because, you know, this is a build I've played before and I understand how it works, meaning I don't have to take the time to really think about how to get that synergy going and maximize my DPS for a lot of situations. And of course, swapping out Oil Grenade because scales with Brutality, just like the rest of the build. And I chose to keep Wave of Denial over the Heavy Turret, even though the Heavy Turret does have a flat 15% damage bonus for me when I'm near it, because I really do think Wave of Denial, even if it doesn't have the right colors, is still a good item to take, just because of the sheer amount of like defense that you have just on a button, or like how quickly you can use it. I call it the panic button because it really is just like, I'm surrounded by enemies, bang, push the panic button, everyone is stunned and farther away from me. It's super good as long as you aren't like, as long as your main hand weapons aren't like kinda not so great. Because if your main hand weapons don't have the DPS that you need, then you're in this situation where you really need your skills to be pumping out DPS, and Wave of Denial does not pump out any DPS in a boss fight. It's very low. Unless a boss has like bombs or some projectiles that can knock back. I'm pretty sure like the giants crystals function similarly to like the way bombs fall, so you can like shoot them back with the thing. Also his projectiles too, the fire ones. But yeah, as much as I would like to get that better Boyzax, it would still be better for me to get that Alchemic Carbine upgrade, because, well, partially because you lose poison synergy, but also because synergies on the Alchemic Carbine don't matter at all, because the only thing it buffs up is the base damage of the bottle that you shoot out, which is like basically nothing. And I mean, if you really want to like min-max stuff, it'd be good, I guess, to try to get that bottle doing extra damage. But it's really the poison, the actual like poison DPS is what you're really looking for, and that's not gonna get buffed up at all. Which I'm fine with, because if you could buff up the poison synergy with other like bleed synergies, then then damage over time would be like even more crucial than it normally is. Took a bad hit from the Thorny and the Mushroom Boy there. Yeah, at this point I'm thinking going to the Arboretum was a mistake. But I really wanted to, you know, go to a new area. Because for the most part I've just been going the main path, trying to get a feel for like how much damage I'm doing at any given time based on the scrolls I have and stuff like that. So I've been thinking like I'm not gonna go to new areas because then I might get a different sort of feel, or I might lose my I don't know, I think you get what I'm saying. It's easier for me to understand and learn the patterns if I'm not changing up all the variables of like going to new areas. Also, I took Masochist partially because my mutations for this are pretty limited, considering I'm not using melee. Or considering I'm not using a melee weapon, not the melee mutation. I wouldn't really consider using it in a build like this, even if I had a melee weapon. Or even if it could proc on either the Boy's Axe or the Alchemic Carbine. But that's rough. But yeah, that's... probably would have already died by now if I didn't have it. Maybe. Actually, probably not. Considering there's one-shot protection. But I definitely could have played things better. Just wasn't expecting everything to pick up so quickly, but, you know, Arboretum... everything hurts in Arboretum, like, very badly. Because the little mushroom boys, or not mushroom boys, the jerk shrooms, you think they wouldn't do that much damage because they're small, but when they... and they don't do that much when they land on you, but when they charge at you, that does so much damage. It's kind of insane. But I guess it's understandable, because that attacks that are like kind of easy to dodge, and you can see the poison spreading through those guys up there, making short work of all the little biters and buzz cutters. I know biters are the worms. And as much as I do like Wave of Denial, I think it's better to get that flamethrower turret. That's a interesting little alpha bug right there. The my weapons screen showing up over the pause screen. And yeah, the same sort of thing that I was saying about Alchemic Carbine, how poison synergies and stuff like that doesn't really matter. Same goes for the flamethrower turret, because it doesn't do damage, it just applies burning damage. So don't need to waste time looking for proper synergies on that thing, which lets you mostly just focus on getting like spreads and flammable oil around the trap to enable some burning oil synergy. Or even, if you're not working with Alchemic Carbine, of course, you can go for like spreads, generates toxic cloud around the trap to get some extra poison synergy. That's one of the reasons why, even though they nerfed its cooldown, I still think Flamethrower Turret is one of the best turrets in the game. I always thought it was like a little better than Cleaver, just because like you could get poison and oil synergies. Yeah, see, like that thing did nothing when it landed on me, but when it charges at me, it does so much. Yeah, I feel like it is generally more useful to get that. It's more useful to get that possible duo of burning oil and poison than it is to get just bleeding, even if it's a good amount of bleeding and some sustained damage that can actually be buffed up by synergies. That's just my take on it. And yeah, they nerfed the cooldown by quite a bit, by like 4 seconds. But to be fair, its old cooldown was like super low at only 8 seconds, which is kind of crazy, considering how quickly you could use it to reapply Burning Oil synergy or Poison synergy, or both, even. And that really made it a lot of fun, to the point where I actively have to tell myself to take Flamethrower Turret less often, because it's like, I consider it to be a little bit broken. I did also come to the realization that I rarely ever take Wolf Trap on any of my survival runs, like in videos, even though it's like super good. And that's because I'm telling myself, like, I can't just take Wolf Trap every run. But I don't even take Wolf Trap on like any runs as a result of that, which is kind of weird. So maybe I should start taking it, let myself have a little bit of an easier time with Poison synergy and stuff, to give myself basically double damage on a lot of my survival runs. Then again, I don't really do that many survival runs. They're kind of eh. I mean, I don't really enjoy playing survival that much, especially not with the new changes. Because, you know, the cap on Necromancy lets you play around a lot less than you would. You gotta, like, I mean, you still can, but you can't really do that dead inside disengagement. I'm not dead inside disengagement. You can't really do that dead inside Necromancy combo that you normally would, because it's like because you can't use food to heal up past 50% HP, so you're basically just kind of stuck there unless you have Frenzy. And actually, I think taking off-color Frenzy, similarly to how you take off-color Berserker, if you wanted to, just for the malaise reduction, you can take off-color Frenzy now because your health pool is so much lower and it scales based off a percentage of your damage. And I think I am taking this new higher level one, but I'm gonna reroll it to see if I can get Poison synergy, because obviously the DPS would suffer quite a bit if I didn't, more than I'd gain. What was I saying? I was talking about Frenzy. But yeah, since your HP is lower and it functions based off your damage, not a percentage of your health, it's a lot stronger even on runs where you're not working with the same color. Alchemic Carbines are basically the same, but I guess I'll just keep this one. Normally I would probably go for the colorless one so I could maybe look for rerolls, but so I could look for rerolls and not have to worry about mixed stats. But you can't get mixed stats on the alpha, so pretty good. This should be a pretty easy curse to take care of because we got range and CC. Generally makes it pretty easy to get through these parts. Oh, nice cherry. Always great to find a little food on the ground, especially when I'm kind of hurting. And of course I went with disengagement because, like, what else am I gonna take? The only thing I can really take in terms of brutality, like brutality mutations, is like, well, the only thing I'd really consider taking is Soldier's resistance, but I need time. I need a little more brutality for that to scale up. So what's the point in taking it right now? That guy, he's moving very slowly because I got the boy's axe and I'm making him immobilized. He's not fully immobilized, but it's still significantly less threatening than if you were moving at full speed. You can just shred him down with the damage. This build does do a lot of damage. and I appreciate that very much. It's just it like one-shots most lower enemies or smaller enemies, but does take a little extra time when dealing with the large ones. And when there's a slasher like that and he's not going to teleport after me, honestly just not going to go after him. There's a nice poison spread right there on all the little bats, getting them out way faster than normally, because I would have had to fire out a second Alchemic Carbine shot, which is nice that I don't have to. And I'm sorry if my voice is like a little bit scratchy. I'm not feeling 100%. I'm not sick, don't worry. I know it's scary to be like sick with anything during these times, but I'm just like, I don't know, it's just early in the morning. My throat's kind of scratchy. I just realized that with all that like ticking poison on the screen, that's like kind of, I don't know, it's kind of messing with my eyes. Weird. I don't think that's enough to like trigger a flashing lights warning or anything like that, but it's not easy to look at the same time. But yeah, I for the most part I am just gonna go the regular route, regular-ish route. I changed it up a little bit in the beginning, but I feel like going to the other areas doesn't really matter that much, like in the later areas. I also just want to see if I can breeze through this pretty quickly. Because I don't know, I really don't want to go to the Slumbering Sanctuary with all the golems and whatnot. And I don't feel like... I mean, going to the cavern would be okay, but if I want to go to the cavern, I'd have to go to the Slumbering Sanctuary. That's my only big beef about it. So just gonna go regular old ossuary path. Plus, I wanted to see what the Concierge fight would be like with the immobilize, because now that they made it so that he like. Now that they made it so if you don't CC a boss like for a couple seconds, it fully refreshes their resistance to the different like immobilizes, slows, stuns, freezes, stuff like that, all the different CC things. So I figure it could get some decent like animation cancels with my with the Boy's Axe immobilize and stuff like that. Because I know the bosses are pretty susceptible to immobilizes messing up their patterns. I think you can stop like pretty much everything of the Concierge with a good immobilize. I don't really know how to do that though. I mean, like I know how to do it in theory. I just don't have the like proper reflexes and stuff, like the practice with it, to really make a lot of use out of it and like get those cancels in where they really count. Which like it's no big deal. It's just like definitely something that could be done better in the build that I probably won't be making too much use out of. But that's fine, because like even without making good use of immobilizes, this thing still just feels pretty great. The new like poison spreading makes it pretty good for dealing with like clumps of enemies, even more so than Alchemic Carbine used to be. Not really getting like a huge opportunity to see that in action though, because of the oil grenades burst paired with the damage over time from the flamethrower turret. But yeah, that's I can't really complain about enemies dying too fast for me to kill them in a different way. You gotta see a little bit of it there. And like I'm pretty sure the only gripe I have about this build's normally I'd say like I can't use a shield. How am I supposed to play without a shield? But nah, I haven't played without a shield for a while, and I really like working with like these two-hander builds, or the two weapons bound to the same hand, same button kind of builds. They've been a lot of fun. My only gripe is that if there's some like occasional situations where I want to just pull the axe out of an enemy and don't really want to like shoot out the Alchemic Carbine, where I get like stuck in place a little bit. But it's not a big deal. Like the Alchemic Carbine animation isn't super long. You can kind of like roll out of it. It's no biggie. I'm just always looking for the pros and cons, you know, because every build has its strengths and weaknesses. This one just feels super strong, like for pushing through the fights and everything. Because you've got like, I mean, Alchemic Carbine does just do solid damage, but you have like this sort of dynamic where you've got Boy's Axe doing like extra single target damage, and the Alchemic Carbine being really good for AoE and like clearing through groups of enemies. So it's a good balanced build. To pick up a curse, we got light speed out of the curse chest, of course, but it's like I don't really like light speed too much. And as much as I like the oil grenade, I think just having extra DPS is pretty good. So yeah, if we didn't have, I mean, if shock wasn't just added in this alpha update, we would have all three of the different damage over times. Bleeding from cleaver, poison from Alchemic Carbine, burning plus burning oil from the flamethrower turret. Just really shredding through everybody. But like either way, it's damage over time super good. Lets you bypass the damage cap with everything. But for the most part, like unless you're working with something like smoke bomb or I guess even phaser, but not so much phaser because that's really low cooldown. It's basically if you're working with a build that like that has like a long cooldown and then you just do like a huge burst of damage, then the damage cap is a big deal. But if you're working with like pretty decent sustained damage and you're hitting the damage cap, then your DPS is already amazing. Don't have to worry about that sort of thing. I think I already said that in the bleeding and the bleed rework video, but that's fine. Still a little recap of that sort of thing. So yeah, for mutations, still just rolling with the like all defensives, because the only real DPS bonus that you can get on like a ranged run, aside from not alchemic, tainted flask. Is it tainted flask or is it like corrupted healing or something? I don't remember. Maybe it had like a name change. Still screwed up about it. And also still screwed up in regards to platforming, just jumping around that little corner right there. Don't want the Malaise food. But yeah, not being able to take melee mutations kind of limits your options in regards to brutality. So when I'm working with a build like this, I just like to go for the the colorless, good defensive ones. And sometimes I go for combo, but combo doesn't really seem like it fits well in this build because, once again, the majority of your DPS is coming from the Alchemic Carbine, and combo is only useful in regular fights where this build like really shines, just like clearing through enemies super fast. It's still good against bosses, but I'd argue that the like room clear aspect of it is a little more powerful with that Alchemic Carbine, and also you don't have a shield. Oh, that's a really good Boy's Axe with burning oil, synergy, and poison. That's like good enough to take to the end of the game, honestly. Which I guess isn't too surprising because it's a level 9 with good synergies. So, yeah. But yeah, combo doesn't buff up Alchemic Carbine's poison. It would buff up the bottle damage, which is like nothing, as I've said multiple times. the percentage increase would be pretty good for the Boy's Axe, but you don't really get, well, you get the Boy's Axe out pretty often, but I don't know. I feel like there's no point in trying to buff up the build's ability to deal with regular enemies, and when you could just go like full defensive and like, you know, have something that can be good against bosses but will still totally get you through regular levels pretty easily. We're also chunking through this guy pretty quickly. And I should say, at the time of recording, this is patch... it's bad roll. This is patch 1.9.1. The time where I'm recording this audio, though, is the morning of patch 1.9.2, where they made a change to increase the concierges and maybe other first bosses. I'm not sure. Oof. Now that was a bad immobilize on my part. That's not how you want to do that. But yeah, new to 1.9.2, they buffed the concierge's damage past 3 BC, but reduced his health, which I am all for because I don't get hit by the guy that often. When I do, I'm okay if it does a little extra damage. But like the real issue is that if I don't have the right amount of stats, and I always feel like I don't have very many stats heading out of the ossuary, the fight just like slogs on forever. Unless I'm working with a really good like ranged build like this with damage over time and junk like that. Then you just kind of shred through him like easy peasy pasta pie. That's not an expression, I made that up right now. What would a pasta pie be like? I'm trying to think if that would be good. I know there's like noodle burgers or something like that from, I think that was the thing in Big Hero 6, but it's also like, oh, that was a nice little dodge jumping over the guy. I think that was the thing in Big Hero 6, but then someone told me that it's actually real, like a real thing in Japan, and like that's pretty rad. Where it's like burgers, but the bun is made out of like noodles. I never really thought about the logistics of that though. Like, are the noodles dry and crunchy? Because that sounds pretty like not great. But if they're wet, then they're not gonna like fit into the noodle shape. And that doesn't sound very good either. Maybe there's like, maybe they hit like a semi-solid sort of thing, like when you make a pot of rice or something and you like flip it over onto the pot, how it holds that shape. Maybe it's like that, but like it is stuck together more. Huh. I'll have to do some more research on that. I want to see what that might be like. But yeah, I'm thinking a pasta pie or whatever would be like that, but you have... Oh, I guess there are like two different kind of variations of it in my mind. You could have the crust be the pasta and have it like made out of pasta in a similar way like that. Or you could have it be like a regular... I'm just like jumping through everybody there. Or you could have it be like a regular, like graham cracker crust pie. Although I'd assume it'd be like something savory, so not like graham cracker crust, but like that, but without sugar, I guess. And then you would have like pasta in it. That just sounds like kind of an overload of carbs. I don't know. I don't know why I'm like overanalyzing the thing I said about just a random combination of the words pasta and pie because they both start with the letter P. It kind of sounded fun. But yeah, that's gross. I don't think I'd eat that. Okay, what's something Dead Cells I can talk about? We're halfway through the run, just about, in the Stilt Village, same as usual. This is an area where this build seems pretty good because like the enemies are clumped together very well, or very often. Yeah, we're already at the 60. That's pretty nice. The Stilt Village is an area that you can just kind of like run through super fast if you got the right build for it, which I appreciate. It's just like the main... If you want to like min-max everything and go through all of the cell doors, which I honestly hate doing. I used to do that in like when I first started making videos on this channel, and ugh. Well, I didn't go through every door. I skipped like the ones that give you actual cells, and this pirate is like far away. Too far to get. Just whittle him down with poison, I guess. Yeah, I used to open like every cell door so the videos would be like an hour and 30 minutes long, and that's just like... That's like a slog that... I mean, I did watch through all of them, of course, for the quality assurance, but ugh. That's like... It's too much. I'd rather just get out, like... I'd rather just have the runs be shorter and then maybe get out more videos or something than have like an hour and 30-minute one where I'm not playing well and I'm not talking very well either. But that's fine. I feel like it's okay to go through, it's okay to go for those chests if you have like, if you get kind of screwed over by RNG and you're like, basically, if I were at this point in the game and I still had like some off-color stuff in my builds or something because I just didn't get good RNG, then I would have totally been going for chests and stuff to try to get like something I can use. But you know, you can also just like do whatever you want, really. I'm just talking about how I think about the stuff in the moment. Because I've definitely got speed in mind as I'm rushing through these levels. It's got to be the nice balance of like making the run, finishing the run as fast as possible, while also picking up as much benefit as I can so that I'm less likely to die in a stupid way at the very end and have to start all over. Which is why I go for the prison depths or the corrupted prison every time. Corrupted confinement. Did they rename it? Is that its name? I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, either way, that one stat scroll, getting that extra stat scroll early helps kick up your damage a little bit for the early to mid game, and then like in the late game having that one extra means a whole lot more. But you could totally just live without it if you want to, But I feel like going through that one extra level and having, I feel like it ends up being roughly the same time frame, because having that one extra thing lets me clear through the levels more quickly. I don't know if it's like a full like 2 minutes or whatever that I would be spending in the corrupted prison. Because the first part of the corrupted prison is always a little bit slow, because you're working with the curse, you don't want to get killed. Sometimes it can be a little faster if you've got like a big burst build with like a powerful grenade and the enemies group up in a way that really just lets you burst that curse down ASAP. I mean, I'm always happy to see it, but for the most part, I like to play slow so that I can just, you know, chill out, get that curse out at my own pace, not risk anything unnecessary. Because if you die, well, I say if you die. Whenever I die in the prison quarters, well, if I die in the prison quarters, I feel real bad about it. But if I die in the prison depths, then I'm just like, ugh. I was just getting started on that run, and then it just like conked out, so when I start out my next run, I'm gonna be a little tilted about it. And then you know, you get tilted at the start of the run, take damage in the, ooh, that was a nasty looking the Inquisitor bolt. I'm just trying to get like the jump on those guys up there so I can drop down here, kill that guy, and then go back for the amulet. But yeah, I don't like starting runs off feeling tilted, because then I just mess up in the very beginning and I'm like, oh man, maybe I should restart so the video doesn't get off to such a crummy bit. Because I figure if someone loads up the video for the first time and they see me taking that much damage in the prison quarters, they're gonna be like, oh geez, this guy is not good. How's he gonna, am I gonna have to endure this level of play for like the entire rest of the run? So I feel like getting off to a good start in the very beginning is pretty important. Probably not important to restart the whole run over though, because it's okay. It's okay to do a little bad. Because like overall I'm not overall I'm not too like ashamed or embarrassed to upload like me messing up. I've got quite a lot of footage of me doing stupid stuff and dying because of it. But for the most part, and there's a challenge rift, that's pretty cool. But for the most part, I feel like I play decently well. There aren't too many runs that I like. There aren't too many runs that I scrap just because I'm like, oh man, this sucks to watch. I'm not playing well at all. I'll admit there are a couple like that, but for the most part, it's not because I was doing badly. It's because I didn't. I think I talked about this before, not in this episode though. But yeah, I basically it's because I feel like I didn't learn how to use the weapon I was focusing on properly, or I was missing something about the builds, or just generally I felt like I could make a better showcase of whatever I'm working on, something that would be more enjoyable to the listener or watcher. I mean, I assume most people don't actually watch like the gameplay. Well, actually no, that's not what I mean. Judging based off like what my friends say, they don't actually watch the gameplay because they don't really care that much about Dead Cells. They just kind of like hearing my voice in the background when they're doing other stuff, and like that makes me feel good. Of course, I like that because that's how I listen to a lot of channels. Like, well, actually no, for Dead Cells is like the only exception, but there are a lot of YouTubers who I watch, and I just like their voices. So if there's a game that I'm not very interested in that they're playing, then I'll just, you know, turn on their audio and listen to that in the background while I'm like either playing my own games or doing work or stuff. And I'm not really editing because I need to listen to my audio so I don't miss clips and stuff. But yeah, I think like the example that first comes to mind is watching Retromation's Undermine series, because I don't really like Undermine as a game. It just feels really long and kind of boring to watch, like from a gameplay standpoint. That's just my opinion though. I say that the game is objectively pretty great, like from like a gameplay standpoint. Like it's unique, it's got its own concept, the art is pretty solid, the actual like enemy designs are creative. It's cool, I like it. I just don't like watching it because it feels pretty samey after me seeing it for the first time or whatever. Oh yeah, Poison just took care of that last curse for me, so I didn't even have to go for it. That's cool. So yeah, I feel like gameplay is less important than the audio to some extent, and I'm sorry if I'm sorry if like meta commentary, which I guess is what I call it when I'm talking about making videos, isn't really your kind of thing. I can try to talk more about the game, but for the most part, it doesn't really feel like there's that much to talk about, because I already addressed like the build strengths and weaknesses, already planned out like the route we're taking this game. There's another example of how like if you roll through spike balls and stuff like that, like in the air, you can kind of just like jump. As long as you don't like fully touch the ground or whatever, you can kind of like jump back into them with like the double jump and they won't hit you, which is kind of weird, but I get it from like a coding standpoint or something, where it's like you have rolled through this thing so it will not hit you, basically, so that you can get like some cheeky rolls off or whatever without the game like bugging out and making you have to like roll perfectly to dodge every single spike ball, stuff like that. I guess it's not bugging out, but like unforgiving coding, which the game does not have. The game's coding is great. It's pretty great. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I tend to my commentary for these things is basically just whatever is going on in my head. I just kind of let out like a stream of consciousness so that I can keep talking, instead of trying to force myself to find stuff to talk about in the game. because when I would do stuff like that, it would just lead to a lot of like uncomfortable pauses that I didn't feel great about looking back on that sort of thing. But, you know, if you'd rather I focus more on talking about stuff in the game, let me know in the comments, and I will try to keep that in mind as I move forward and make more videos. Because obviously, these videos are tailored, or ideally I'd like to have these videos tailored to the viewer, because, I mean, you're the one watching them. I want to give you guys what you want to see. Oh yeah, and the channel just hit like above 100 subscribers based off of, or from the alpha runs that I posted, and I just want to say thanks so much to everybody who watched it. I mean, I feel great, but it's not just because it's like, oh, the number, it got bigger. I feel great because it's like, I feel really great from all the kind comments and stuff from people who say they like my voice, or just general things like, wow, this video was cool, and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. It puts a smile on my face every time. I'm just glad to know that like there are people who enjoy the stuff that I'm putting out, because I have a lot of fun making it, and that's enough of a reason for me to keep doing it. But always good to have like a little bit extra. Also, you know, Alpha Giant is kind of a pushover. I don't mean to be abusing him because he's like an easier fight than the Timekeeper, but even if he weren't this squishy, I would still prefer fighting him over the Timekeeper like 9 times out of 10, because I want to skip the castle, I want to go fast. It's not so much because I feel like the castle's dangerous and I'm going to take a lot of damage and die there, it's just because there's so many spikes that make me have to play like carefully in the area, and I'd rather just push through. Lacerating Oro poisons the enemy is pretty good, but I'm liking the big damage over time build I've got with Cleaver and the Flamethrower turret, because I might be able to get bonus damage to Burning Oil, or just bonus damage to Burning, or bonus damage to Poison on the Cleaver, because Cleaver doesn't do a huge amount of damage with its base damage, like the amount that you get from it shredding. It's mostly the bleed damage, but it still does like an okay amount sustained. So there's more of an argument to be made for that than for the Alchemic Carbine. Because the initial bottle doesn't proc like nearly as often as the other thing, so the damage won't matter that much. And yeah, I've noticed that the late game for the alpha has become significantly easier. Like the Hand of the King does way less damage to me than he normally would. It might just be because I've got Dead Inside, and it's like they reduce the damage from like bosses and enemies in the late game to like make up for the fact that you have less stats and therefore less HP. But maybe Dead Inside is like a little bit too strong, sort of overpowering that and putting me above the curve. Because I feel like every time I take Dead Inside, I just kind of like, I can basically not so much face tank through the hand fight. I don't think you can really face tank through like anything in 5-cell mode, unless you're working with the Spite Sword Shield combo. I want to do that again. Actually, that'd be fun. Oh yeah, that's right. That's what I was saying. I wanted to see about like doing a 100. Sorry, I like bleh, my mouth went all weird and I was saying it not like I intended. A 100 subscriber special where I do like some sort of challenge run. What I wanted to do was a Bobby run, and by a Bobby run I mean the animated trailer guy, you know, with the pink head. The reason we call him Bobby, or some people call him Bobby, I do, is because of the Bobby outfit in the game that looks like him. The reason I wanted to do that was because I saw that MoonerSK. He's a modder in the Steam Workshop. Makes a lot of these head mods that change like the graphic for your character's head. He's got a lot of really cool ones. I urge you go check them out if you want to spice up your runs cosmetically. I might do more of that too. But the thing is, it's not updated for the alpha branch, which is completely understandable. Like Of course, it's not going to be updated for the alpha branch. And so basically the idea of the build was going to be like a frying pan only builds where I only take the Vorpan and nothing else and try to get through 5 BC with it, which would have been easier on the alpha because the lack of stats and weapons. But the mod isn't updated, so I wouldn't be able to put on like the Bobby head and the Bobby outfit for that the animated trailer guy had. And it's not like a huge bug that just makes it not work in general, it's just that the colors don't change based on your outfit, so you always have like this blue head instead of the usual pink head. That would be like the whole reason to take the head on the Bobby thing. And I just kind of feel weird about doing that run without it. And then I was thinking about like some other options, which would be like the bomber snagged me there. Which would be like doing a shield only run, which would be annoying, but like I could do it. I've done it before, I can do it again. Probably. It'd be easier with the no stats on weapons, of course, as would a lot of challenge builds. And then another thing I was thinking about, because Mooner has this, he has this mushroom, he also has a head based after Mushroom Dad, or the Yeeter in the animated trailer for the Bad Seed. So I was thinking I could give myself like 2 Mushroom Boys and then just kind of like do something similar to the Biter Boys video where I just take like Bloodthirsty Shield or some kind of shields and a bow or whatever. I don't really know what I'd take really, since Marksman's Bow isn't an option for that anymore. Honestly, I'd probably just enable like all combinations of weapons and shields and then just find something to take. But it's basically just the idea of like having 2 Mushroom Boys while being the Mushroom Dad. Because there's the Mushroom King outfit that resembles the Yeeter body. So you pair the Mushroom King outfit with the Mushroom Dad head, and then you become Papa Yeeter. And you can have your Mushroom Boys. Sadly, there's no way to actually like throw your Mushroom Boys, so I wouldn't be able to like fully copy the Yeeter. But I was thinking I could also go with something like a combination of Ice Shards and Firebrands, just for the theme of throwing stuff, you know? The Yeeter. I was thinking that could be kind of fun. So I'm trying to come up with my own like challenge builds and stuff. And I realized that at this point I haven't posted a video in like a week. So I don't know when this one's gonna come out. Hopefully I can get it out like tomorrow, which would be like 8 or 9 days since the last video, which I apologize for the, I guess you could call it a hiatus, but the amount of time that I get to record audio has become like even fewer and farther between. And I started playing League of Legends again with my friends, just to pass time while I can't record. And that's been a lot of fun, but I haven't been like choosing League or like video games over making videos. I wouldn't do that. It's just that, well, I mean occasionally I might like accidentally miss like a 10-minute recording window because I'm in the middle of a game or something like that, because you know you can't pause and everything. But I don't really like taking the 10-minute recording opportunities. I'd prefer having like upwards of 20 minutes, like maybe even 30, so I don't have to take too many breaks in the middle of commentary. Because having to do that is like so annoying. I like lose my... Oof, that's a bad thing. But hey, you can use the first blast charge of the run in the Astrolab. Not too bad. Definitely still have plenty for the collector. How's I going with that? What I last said? Yeah, whenever I have to take a break for recording and I come back, I like lose my mojo for a little bit, or I start off like kind of slower with less energy, which, you know, if you notice like a shift in energy in the middle of a sentence after like a little pause, that's probably because I had to take a break. But oh yeah, and now we got full potion charges again with plenty of gold to spare, so no worse for wear for the collector fight. Only thing is disengagement is on cooldown, but like I can either wait for it to come back up, or I can just wing it and probably won't matter. Probably just gonna wing it, honestly. So I'd like the recording windows to be like upwards of 20 to 30 minutes, so I can limit the amount of little pauses I have. Which, you know, is another reason why I like to get through these runs quickly, so I can get through stuff like that. And I am taking emergency triage instead of masochist. I could have also taken what is it? I could have also taken soldier's resistance just for extra max HP. But the reason I like taking the emergency triage in the collector fight is because, you know, you can use it to get a little shield and chug that panacea, however you want to pronounce it. You can use it to chug that like even more quickly, get a shield while you're trying to burst him down for the finish. Just feels kind of nice to have. Plus, like, none of his traps do any damage whatsoever aside from the wall spikes, and you rarely ever get hit by the wall spikes. We're just shredding him down with the damage over time. So that's my reasoning for taking emergency triage. Also just helps if you get stuck in like a weird combo with disengagement down, so you can avoid getting bursted. Like when he does the librarian 3 blast from above. And there's not much to talk about in this fight. We're just bursting him down super fast. Not really getting to show off a lot of his combos. They did change like the way his phases work, and I think they buffed his HP or something like that. But I don't know enough about it to really comment on it. So I can talk about the build though. A little summary of what we've showed off. Alchemic Carbine, amazing for clearing through groups of enemies, especially groups of enemies with low HP, like swarmers, biters, literally not even the enemy names. Those are the allies that you spawn. Like the corpse rooms. Oh, yeah, I remember getting thrown off in this bit because I stunned him halfway through his spike move, so they got stuck on the wall. Okay, builds. Alchemic Carbine's good at AoE. Boy's Axe has good single target. The rest of the build is just what I like to take, which is turrets, and turrets are just really good DPS. You can totally take anything else you want. And with that said, it's a pretty good build. I enjoy it very much. Thanks very much for the suggestion. If you liked the video, then leave a like. If you didn't, some constructive criticism would be appreciated. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you want to suggest like a run in the comments for me to do, whether it be like a challenge or a showcase on a specific weapon or a special build that you've got in mind, leave it in the comments. I'll be sure to get to it as soon as I can, like within reason. Thanks again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.